The actor Clint Eastwood reclines in his seat. At 95 years old, he still has that distinctive squint. His deep, grumbling voice resembles straight whiskey. Clint, you've played such a wide range of roles, from tough guy to outlaw to cowboy to cop, but which actresses actually tempted you outside of the camera? The interviewer asks with a knowing grin. The inquiry goes unanswered by Clint. Everybody in the room twitches at his distinctive pause. After that, he lets forth a laugh that is as parched as desert dirt. Well, at this age, what the hell do I got to lose? I've worked with many beautiful women on many movies. I nearly lost it when I was faced with a few of them. Some of the things I considered doing often but never got around to doing. I could have easily forgotten all of my lines if any of those 7 women had tried. He dips his craggy hands into his knees as he leans forward. He narrows his gaze as if he were about to make a winning transaction. People think playing the gunslinger or the cop was tough, but standing 5 feet from some of these women, that was the real test of grit. You can practice stunts and fake a fight, but you can't fake how your heart races when the world's most beautiful woman looks you straight in the eye. That's merely surviving. It's not acting. As he takes his time sipping his drink, a slight hush falls over the room, leaving you to wonder what it is. His beard conceals a mischievous smile as he continues. I was the tough guy on screen, yes, but sometimes the hardest thing I ever did was behave myself. To be really forthright, I failed on occasion. One of them is Cheryl Streep. The recollection causes Clint to shift in his chair, and his usually ruffled voice takes on a somewhat soothing quality. His head trembles as if he's engrossed in obscure vintage films. Meryl Streep, he utters. That woman was dynamite. She was trouble wrapped in beauty. On set of The Bridges of Madison County, bystanders claimed they could sense our intense chemistry. Half of it slipped past the camera's lens. The other half, that's what happened in the looks that weren't written into the script between takes. The sound of his deep laugh is reminiscent of boots stepping on dirt. I was acting like a serious photographer when she would look at me with those eyes, which were both soft and sharp at the same time, and I'd lose my place. Occasionally, when I was performing with Meryl, I would fumble over my lines. She seemed to know everything about your inner life just by looking at you and smiling. An experience like that might devastate a man. When he looks into his eyes, he is transported back to his childhood home in Iowa. There's a time when I lift her chin in that kitchen. Even now, I get asked if I was acting by some individuals. No, I assure you. I was attempting to restrain myself from accidentally kissing her in front of the entire team. When it was only the 2 of us in that rural kitchen, there wouldn't have been a single light or camera in the room. On that day, I seriously doubt we would have wrapped up shooting. He comes in close, his voice down as if about to tell something harmful. She also smelled like this. A cozy, comforting item. Not quite fragrance, but she is. I was almost within catching sight of it when the thought crossed my mind. If I take too many deep breaths, I'll end up writing my own death notice. He gives it some more thought before exhaling slowly. To Meryl, she was more than a co-star. A hurricane was her. From mild to ferocious in an instant. With just a touch, she may make you feel like you're her only priority. You would be reminded of how out of your depth with the following breath. Francesca wasn't the only role she played. Her house was her home. I'll admit it, she was pretty much a part of me for those few months as well. You can see that mischievous cowboy glint in Clint's eye when he smiles. Being around Meryl brought back the difficulty of maintaining composure. Believe me when I say I've jumped from trains, been hauled behind horses, and stood under gunfire. Even worse than that was putting my hands in my pockets as she leaned in for a kiss. Shirley Locke is number 1. Clint furrows his brow into a mask that resembles a grin as he reclines. My name is Sandra Locke. People will definitely take notice of that name. The way he shook his head gave the impression that his memory was still fuzzy. Collaborating required 6 images. Number 6. Unless there's a real fire, both on and off screen, that kind of thing doesn't happen in this industry. The fire was nearly out of control when Sandra was around. The wrinkles around his eyes deepen as he halts. She was a gun on screen. They could look me in the face without flinching and were courageous and incisive. How rare that is something that many people are unaware of. A lot of women could pull off the weak role. Many individuals may be difficult. However, Sandra was able to seamlessly transition between the two. One moment she's sobbing into your shoulder, and the next she's breaking down with a glance. It becomes problematic when men lose track of which part is the act. With a low, quiet laugh, Clint replies, "Less happy than sad." When I was on set with her, it was more than simply acting. It was full-on conflict. It appeared that we were only acting part of the time, and there were moments when I was confused about which of us was whom. The directors will finally stop yelling, "Cut," when they witness that kind of chemistry. It's like seeing lightning strike. His voice is becoming more coarse, yet the intensity remains constant. Everyone knows what the spark was, what they saw on the screen. Nothing was visible to them. No smoke, no fighting, and no aftermath. At times, we fought as if we were attempting to dismantle the set. It would then be our turn to pose for the camera as if no one else mattered except us. My understanding of Sandra is as follows. It took her no more than 5 minutes to irritate you to the point that you forgot your own name. As if nothing has changed, Clint shakes his head once more. I was good, or I tried to be. However, Sandra was never an easy one. Spending time with her was a mixed bag of pleasure and misery. Being professional and setting boundaries is something I would tell myself. That line would split in half the second she stepped foot on stage, her hair gleaming and her gaze locked onto mine. A small grin spreads over his face, and his carefree cowboy spirit shines through. When you work with Sandra Locke, you can't leave anything behind. Her role went beyond that of a mere co-star. I could feel her teeth grinding against mine the second I stepped foot in her room. In addition, given the opportunity, I would probably walk into it again. Finally, Shirley MacLaine. The way Clint smiles and shakes his head makes it seem like he's reliving a classic film. Marilyn Monroe. A firework has been set off. On Sister Sarah's Two Mules, we collaborated. Unlike every other lady I had encountered, she was unique. As smart as a whip, with a sharp tongue and more sass than most men could handle in a 5-foot body. His arms rest on his knees as he stooped down. Her on-screen character was a nun who didn't live up to her reputation. Not on film either. She could fool you into thinking she was dead serious for an instant. The next minute, the crew would be unable to hold the camera steady because of her convulsive laughter. Her laughter was painful, man. It lacked sweetness and niceness. It had an air of audacity, as if she were beckoning you to fall for her. There's a mischievous twinkle in Clint's eyes as they narrow. Collaborating with Shirley was terrifying in a different sense. Though attractive, she was more than that. This was true, she was. She remained a mystery. She has the power to kiss, strike, or reminisce about her time in Egypt. All of those things seemed reasonable to me. As he savors the memories, he lets out a quiet laugh. Shirley had a way of keeping you guessing at all times. As far as guys like me are concerned, that looks great. While you're running to keep up, this woman not only plays the game, but she also alters the rules. The nice kind of trouble she was. Exactly 4. Hi there, Walter Jessica. Clint's smile takes on a more subdued and strained appearance. Greetings, Jessica Walter. Collaborating with that woman was a pleasure. My first directing gig was Play Misty for me. She swung in like a bolt of lightning. Beautiful, intense, and just dangerous enough to keep everyone on edge. As if mentally reviewing the experiences again, he pauses and squints. She was the best obsession I've ever seen on screen. Her expression was genuine. No, not entirely. She could read your mind, as if she were penetrating your skin to reveal your innermost secrets. She also had a spark off-screen. Just hearing this woman speak would make you want to go out and get her a drink. She was hilarious and incredibly intelligent. It was mind-blowing in the most delightful way. With a sigh, Clint lowers his voice. There were times when I wasn't sure where her character Evelyn ended and Jessica began. It was a charming and dangerous smile of hers, and I would think, Lord, I'm not going to leave this scene clean, whenever she leaned in closer. She was alluring and chaotic at the same time. Her allure is palpable, and she exudes an air of slight menace. That is, in my opinion, an extremely difficult combination to turn down. Fifthly, Mary Mills. A melancholy quality creeps into Clint's voice. Someone named Mary Mills. She posed a new type of allure. She possessed that California radiance, fresh-faced and blonde. In Play Misty for me, She could be as quiet as a mouse and not even raise her voice. The moment she entered the frame, all eyes were on her. Mine is included. His beard reveals a grin. She seemed innocent at first, but you could tell she was tough on the inside. She was the type of woman who emanated charisma just by being herself. It was the kind of beauty that effortlessly breaks you, you thought to yourself. The truth is that she nearly did. He pauses for some contemplation. She would simply stroll by while humming a tune one day on set, after long hours, when everyone was exhausted. She talked softly and without flourish. The whole team seemed to pause what they were doing just to listen. She was present in that way. Charming without being garish or intrusive. For an instant, as her wide eyes landed on you, it seemed as though you were the only person in the world. Picked. Clint chuckles softly. She was cute like the girl next door. Be careful not to misunderstand. It posed additional risks. Donna had no interest in teasing. She wielded her heightened awareness of her impact like a hidden weapon. She'd smile at you, casual as anything, and suddenly you're wondering if you should take a step closer or 2 steps back before you lose your balance altogether. He flashes a coy smile. I always try to be good, but Donna Mills was the kind of co-star who made it feel like the hardest thing in the world to be good. And, well, if she had leaned in a bit closer, the movie's ending would have been completely different. The 6th place goes to Sophia Loren. With a slight lean, Clint's signature squint softens, as if he were astonished. Marie-Laure Loren. The woman was obviously more than simply an actress. Please tell me. Her influence was immense. Working with her was never necessary. And maybe it's for the best, because I doubt I could have kept my cool. His deep, harsh voice makes him giggle as if he were confessing an old transgression. Even when the cameras stopped rolling, the royal beauty and the fire of Italy remained. It wasn't merely the eyes or the curves, though. Any man would be brought to his knees by such things. Her gait said everything. It didn't matter to her one bit that she was certain every single male in the room had feelings for her. It brought her joy. As if he can envision her across a crowded Hollywood party, Clint pauses for a second and clenches his jaw. She was just out of my sight a few times. The usual Hollywood shuffle, together with major premieres and parties, takes place. You would have thought there would be a sea of tuxedos and gowns surrounding you before she entered, but that was clearly not the case. It was Sophia alone that you beheld. Her laughter made you feel as if she had just spilled the beans on the world's darkest secret. It was squalid, wealthy, and risky. You wished you could hear it again, which was the worst aspect. He lowers his voice as he takes deep breaths. Sophia Loren was a trap dressed in silk. She didn't have to utter a word. You were already prepared to cross some boundaries. When I speak for myself, I will be honest. Regardless of whether I was wearing a cowboy hat or not, I would have accompanied her as she left the room if she had ever gesticulated towards me. Underneath his beard, he always sports the same cunning smile. You look up to some women from afar because you think it's safer that way. Sophia, you admired her because you were afraid you may change for being so close to her. Ruby Welch. Number 7. With an irritated grin and a harsh laugh, Clint shakes his head. Raquel Welch. Now she was a blazing inferno. As she passed past, every man on earth felt utterly helpless. Confident and curvaceous, she exuded confidence. Even though we never shared a screen, we were in close proximity. Openings and parties in Hollywood. She made her claim to the room, rather than merely entering it. Leaning forward, he lowers his voice. Whenever Raquel was in the room, it was hard to focus on what she was saying. It only takes a glance to make you question how fast you can locate an empty spot. She strolled confidently as if she were a pro. Hell, she wasn't wrong. Clint lets out a long laugh, nearly overcome with guilt. Her grin was both inviting and intimidating. I, as a man, would have been completely. No matter how hard you resisted Raquel's advances, you couldn't help but feel horrible about yourself. Just being close to her was enough to make you forget what was right. With a slight lean and a hidden grin beneath his beard, he smiles a bit more. Some temptations are only meant to be dreams. Welch. Raquel. She's mine forever.